Good evening and welcome to the channel, and today's video is one for some of the newer subscribers to the channel and maybe some of the existing subscribers who don't know much about my life or my life in golf. So when I was growing up, I was massively into sport, and that's understandable. My dad was 5 times British table tennis champion, a bit of an icon in the sort of 60s and 70s. And there is a video on this channel if you want to learn more about my dad. However, today, this video is on my favourite subject, and that's me. I was given every opportunity growing up to try lots of different sports, and when I was younger I tried literally everything. I tried karate, but I'm a lover, not a fighter. I did a bit of gymnastics, and then I found a couple of sports that I seemed to really enjoy, and that was football and cricket. Played football in the winter and then cricket in the summer. Although I was a reasonably good cricketer, I wasn't brilliant, but I did play a lot of youth cricket for Brixham. However, football has always been sort of my passion and my real true love, and even now I would say that I probably there's times when I preferred football, or certainly made the decision to play football over playing golf. So from the age of sort of 12 to 14, I was playing football at a decent level. I was rather big for my age, not fat, but like quite tall and reasonably strong. So I had a few trials. I went up to Villa for a couple of weeks. I was doing stuff with the Torquay Academy, but I didn't quite have the ability to break through and to make football a career at a decent level. So back to golf and how I got involved in golf. So like I said, I played football up until I was 14 at a decent level. Sort of 14, 15, I didn't really grow, and I didn't, like, the other lads tended to get a bit stronger, and I just ended up getting injured all the time. I broke my hand, I broke a couple of fingers playing football, got a few sort of nasty kicks which were sort of sidelining me for a few weeks. I was always injured, and sort of when I was 14, moved into 15, I hardly played football. My dad, around sort of when I was 14, 15, had 3 major heart attacks, and he was told to change his lifestyle, to lose some weight, improve his diet. And he used to play golf in the 60s and 70s and decided to get back playing golf. At the time, didn't really see the appeal of playing golf, but I wanted to spend more time with my dad. I wanted him to exercise, to get fitter, and obviously live a better life. So I thought to myself at the time that I'd start playing golf. I'd go down Ilford Lee, I'd have a lesson with one of the assistant pros, and then I'd join my dad on the golf course with his friends, hit a few balls with the odd club, and just have a little wander around. After a few months of doing that, Dad managed to get into Churston as a member, and I joined at the same time. I was sort of 14, 15 at that time. It would have been sort of 95, going into 96. I was looking for a sort of a bit of a part-time job, and Neil Holman was the club professional at Churston. He was also my coach at the time, and he offered me a job working Saturdays in the golf shop. Stage, I started playing a lot of golf after school, in the school holidays. My dad was, being a sort of former table tennis player and being quite competitive, he would play and practice a lot, and that would sort of drag me up to the golf club, and I got into it that way. I think as a junior, you enjoy, I certainly got a buzz out of winning and playing good golf. And the handicap system, as we know, at the time allowed you to compete in competitions. You improved quickly as a junior, and I liked winning little trophies, little cups, and my handicap was going down lower and lower, as well as I was spending time in the pro shop, which, like I said, became a bit of a passion, and I could see myself wanting to work in that environment long term. At this stage, I'd completely given up all other sports, and I was really concentrating on golf and trying to get to a level which would allow me to turn professional. Said it before, and I don't mind saying it again, but my mum and dad have been, and still are, mum still is, like a really good supporter, or very supportive of me. And I finished GCSEs at Brixham College in sort of 1997. I was still working at the golf club, and all I really wanted to do was turn pro and play golf. But they were like, look, you need something to fall back on, get some qualifications, some higher education qualifications, so that if this dream of yours doesn't work or passion doesn't work out, you've got something to fall back on. So I made the decision to go to Churston Grammar School because I did reasonably well in my GCSEs. And here's a little confession. I'm probably not sure my mum will know until she watches this, but my dad, I'm pretty sure, who was quite switched on, will know. I only went to Churston Grammar School because it was opposite the golf club, and it allowed me those 2 years doing the A-levels at a grammar school. I mean, you were supposed to completely dedicate your free time and life to those 2 years of getting the best grades, getting to university, and then obviously getting a really good job. However, with the close proximity of the golf club and the school, every single free period I'd walk over to the golf club and practice chipping and putting. I'd hit balls in the net. I'd also get dropped off at school early. Dad used to go to work at sort of 6:30, so I'd be at the golf club practicing before school. When I finished school at sort of 3:30, I'd either go and play golf with Dad, or I'd practice, and then I'd go home at sort of 6-7 o'clock at night. So I was probably doing, when I was sort of 17, 18, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours a day practice. I wasn't a natural golfer, by all means. I mean, I was an 8 handicapper when I went to Churston, and by the time I'd left, I was down to 1 handicap. And before you make that joke, yes, I was a late developer in many ways. Once I'd finished Churston, and I did achieve 4 average A-level, I guess, grades, good enough to go to uni, but that was never my plan or never on my agenda. So I basically took a couple of years working part-time in the shop for Neil still, just to play in golf, trying to play in sort of county events and try and get that handicap down to a level that perhaps I could be a player potentially. I guess that was the main aim. That leads us on to the next stage of my life, and that was turning professional. So I turned professional in 2001. I had a position at Churston Golf Club in the shop, so I had the opportunity to start my PGA program, which is a 3-year course. I think I've done a video about turning pro previously, maybe last year when I had a day in the golf shop. So if you haven't seen that, have a little look at that video if you want to know more about turning professional. The first sort of 6 to 9 months of turning professional, I tried to play. So I played West Region events. There was the Euro Pro Tour at the time, and Paul was doing quite well on it. Chris Gill won on it a couple of times, I think, and Kev Harper actually won the Order of Merit. They were levels above me, but I was continuing to improve, so I had the aim or the ambition to maybe try and play some minor tour, looking to progress to sort of the European Tour, the Challenge Tour, and then on to the European Tour. After a summer of competing with very limited success, I came to the realisation that I wasn't good enough, and I was going to end up spending a lot of money trying to play on these tours I couldn't see myself having much success. So I decided to, in 2003, to turn professional and start the 3-year training program. Early on, when I turned professional at Churston, Neil, who I mentioned previously, had how can I put this? Got to be careful. So obviously got to try and remember back as well. But he had a bit of an issue with the chairman at the time, and it resulted in him losing his job, or his contract wasn't renewed, and he left Churston Golf Club. I made the decision, being a reasonably loyal person, and he'd been a big influence in the early stages of my golf. And work-wise, I just felt that it was time to sort of make a move and get away from Churston, experience a different golf club. I moved to Torquay Golf Club and worked for Martin Roof. Martin Roof, you'll obviously recognise the surname, that's Graham's brother and also James's uncle. So I went over there and I spent sort of 6 years doing my PGA training, being a golf professional, working with the golf club, with the members. I just absolutely loved it. I struggled massively, and I first to admit it now, with sort of the workload. I was doing 30 hours in the shop. Well, that's what I was contracted to, but I was ended up doing more. I was teaching on top of that. I was the only one really teaching at the golf club. I was still trying to compete and play locally, trying to play in the alliances and the odd PGA medal. And I got to a stage in my life where I thought, do I want to be doing this for the rest of my life? The money was okay. It wasn't... I mean, golf pros don't earn as much money as probably the average person would think for the amount of training, qualifications, time and effort you have to put into it. And I just was like, I've had enough of this. I felt like at the time I needed to get out of that particular environment, not because it was just Torquay Golf Club. It would have been any golf club. I just wanted to do something different. I'd been working in the shop and been involved in golf since I was 14. I was now sort of 30, and I was like, almost like a midlife crisis, which I'm probably still in now. I mean, I started looking for jobs outside the industry, like just to do anything really. I didn't know whether that was going to be a permanent decision or one just temporary, to sort of just to, put things in perspective and think, right, actually I do want to do this long term. But I guess I was missing amateur golf as well. I didn't ever feel comfortable being a professional golfer. It's a tricky one, and maybe this is the future videos to talk about how I felt at the time, but I just felt if I was playing a pro-am, people were paying like £100 each to play golf with me, and if I played badly, I just felt like I was letting people down. I mean, that might even be where my short game issues first sort of appeared. Maybe it was the pressure of playing in pro-am, but I just didn't like the environment. I was playing less and less golf, and I turned pro like I guess a lot of assistants do, primarily to play golf and to enjoy golf, and I just lost that love. So I thought, let's get back as an amateur and let's try and do something else as a career. I just couldn't find a job doing anything other than golf. My CV was literally working at 2 golf clubs. I had no other experience. I was a bit of a crossroads. I wasn't sure whether to go back to do some further education, whether to go back into golf and do something that I knew, but I had no idea. And I got a job. When things sometimes just happen. I got a job. A member of Torquay Golf Club, Dave Carter, had a driving range in Paynton, and one of the staff members had left, and he said, come down and do some work down here and help me out. His family are quite heavily involved in property, so he was going away from doing the driving range, and he just sort of said, come down here, help me out, sort of manage it unofficially, I guess. All the other staff were quite a lot younger than me, so naturally, being older and more experienced, you sort of take over a little bit, I guess. And I thought I'd just go down there just because I needed a job. You obviously need money. Try and get the love back in golf. That's exactly what working down there did, really. I had a really good work balance. I used to go down early in the mornings, pick the golf balls up, clean the golf balls, and then I had a few hours off during the day, which allowed me then to go and play some golf or have a social life again. And then I'd go back in the evenings and sort of cash up, make sure the range was fine, and hit some balls. And I was hitting a lot of golf balls, and that was probably when I was playing my best golf. Those sort of 3-4 years I was there, I hit a lot of golf balls, did a lot of practice. I'd got back being a member of Churston Golf Club as well, and I had like a reasonably successful period where I won like the club championships a couple of times. Managed to get back to a scratch handicap, which was sort of the aim or the goal, and maintain that handicap. The time came though, Dave sold up the driving range, and Neil Holman, who was the pro at Churston when I first turned pro, he was the golf pro there, and he took it over. And me and Neil had very differing views on how to run a business, and I went into partnership with him, which lasted a matter of weeks. I just couldn't stay there anymore. He had the lease of the driving range, so I had no legal rights to it as such, and I just was like, I need to get out of there. I made the decision to leave there, but I had quite a lot of stock that I'd sort of accumulated over the last sort of 3 or 4 years being at the driving range. I enjoyed retail, I enjoyed shop work, and I thought to myself, I'm going to try and open an independent golf shop in Torbay. A little shop came up in Preston, which is an area between Paignton and Torquay. I was quite good at doing club repairs, which is what I still do now at Churston. Thought, let's just open up a shop, sell off the stock I've got. As long as the overheads and the rent were cheap, which they were, and it was a very small shop, I could do a few repairs out the back, get rid of the stock I've got, maybe reinvest in it and see whether I could turn it into a small business. I did that independently for a year, sort of 18 months. And it was going okay. I really enjoyed it. It was a funny business. It was, because I was on a main road. I did get the odd passing trade, but the shop was so small that it was hard to have more than one person in it at a time. People just coming for chats, and if someone was in the shop, you'd see people walk up to come into the shop and almost turn around and leave because they didn't want to be in quite a claustrophobic environment. And I just didn't sort of develop or build to the level that I needed to make it a full-time job. Next move was over to the Palace Hotel in Torquay, which was a hotel with quite a bit of history. It's got a golf course there. It was a little 9-holer, but it held the British Par 3 Championships, I think from 1930 to 1970, and it had some like past winners. I mean, that tournament is still going on. I think it was it's played at a lot bigger golf course now, but then it's also gets televised. It's sort of developed further, but the original concept of that tournament was played at the Palace Hotel, and Laura, Dan's wife, was the pro over there. She was doing a few lessons. She had a small retail shop, and she was serving sort of the hotel guests and some of the public who were coming to play there. So Laura needed some help, or she was wanting some help, so I basically moved all my stock over. She had some logoed gear, and we just basically started the business together, and we were doing 50-50 with the workload. The shop was open 7 days a week, so I did 3.5 days in the shop. She did the other 3.5 days, and that worked really well for sort of 6 to 7 months. And then Laura got pregnant. That had nothing to do with me, may I just state now. She wanted to leave the Palace Hotel, so I just bought her out, spoke to the owner, which was Mr. Uphill at the time, and just said, would he have any issue with me taking on the position full time and running the shop single-handedly? And he was like, no, that is fine. So I did that for sort of 2.5, 3 years. My dad came and helped me down there. I really enjoyed it down there. I had a good relationship, working relationship with the greenkeepers down there. It was just a fun place to be. But unfortunately, the hotel was, the whole time I was down there, was in the process of being sold to be developed on. And at the moment, it's been turned into some luxury houses, flats, and I think they're putting a hotel back there, but the golf course is completely gone. And that was like 2016, start of the year. I then needed a job, and there was a job going down at Felston, which is near Salcombe, sort of 45 minutes away from where I live, with Steve White, and I applied for the job, and I got the job down at Felston, so I started work down there early 2016. I stayed there 6 months, and you know, that was one of the places I was really, really sad to leave. And you know, I love going back there now, and some of the members who I got very friendly with are still down there to this day, and I would call them really, really good friends. I left Felston for a couple of reasons. One, I was being paid minimum wage. It took me 45 minutes to drive there and back. I was working weekends, which I didn't really want to do if I could help it. I'd got back playing football at this stage and managing, and I didn't really want to work. I didn't want to work Sundays. I was lucky enough that I used to have Saturday afternoons off for that sort of period that I worked down there. But also Dan became head professional at Staden Heights Golf Club down in Plymouth, and I'd always been close to Dan, and he'd always said, look, as soon as I get a head professional job, I want you to come down there and help me and manage the golf shop, because the role of the modern pro was evolving and developing. It wasn't just running a retail shop and doing lessons. You had to now run competitions, you had to deal with green fees, you had to deal with societies, and the workload of the modern professional at that time, it was so varied, and there was lots and lots of different sort of aspects to the job. And so he got the job at Staden, so I handed in my notice and I started work at the end of 2016 down there. A place which was very different to Felston. There was, it was more working class, similar to what Torquay would be. I really had a good time down there. I got involved with the club. I was running the Alliance, which was good. A lot of the members were very competitive, and that got me playing golf again as well. I played in a lot of alliances. I played with a lot of the members in those tournaments, and yeah, it was an hour drive from my house down to Plymouth, because it was on the Hove overlooking Plymouth. And I was at the stage where I was thinking, I don't want to be driving sort of 2 hours a day. Maybe I could look for somewhere to live down there. It's amazing how things turn around, and Dan was offered the Torquay job as head professional. He'd been the manager there previously, 3 or 4 years before. Obviously, I had a good affiliation with the golf club, and he was like, do you fancy moving back there? So it would decrease the travelling time to work. I knew the place, I knew the people, I knew what a good job it was, and I knew the potential to turn it into something really special. It's a very busy golf club, it's a busy golf shop, and for me it was an opportunity that Dan couldn't turn down, and nor could I. So we decided to go back there in sort of early 2017, and it was like 7 years after I'd left, I was back working at the same place I'd been previously. When we first started at Torquay, we had the intention of really concentrating on the golf club, the retail business, building the shop up, and that was, I don't want to say it was a stepping stone, but it was, for how busy the shop was compared to Staden, it was a step up. And we probably saw, I certainly saw Torquay as another step, do 3 or 4 years there and maybe progress to, a resort course or a slightly more prestigious course. That, with no disrespect to Torquay, you think like an Exeter or a Saunton, something like that. And that was what I guess we saw. However, a message from a YouTuber basically changed the whole direction of Dan and ultimately me over a longer period of time. But from feeling like I was going to be in golf retail for the remainder of my work life, that now had changed. It just it's funny how you feel, or you think you have your life mapped out, and then you get these sort of roundabouts or crossroads and you have to make some decisions. Dan started working with Mark Crossfield, appearing on a lot of his videos, doing a lot of travelling. Mark at the time was sponsored by Your Golf Travel. They were obviously pushing their businesses, but this is pre-COVID, so pushing the travel business. Dan was being sent all around the world filming course vlogs, and I was sort of left at Torquay to sort of hold the fort, which I enjoyed. I loved it. Dan knew I was more than capable of running his business, and that didn't bother me. We would have continued on that process, I guess, but I got a bit of a taste for YouTube. Mark and Coach Lockie were coming up to Torquay a lot. They were using sort of down the studio as well. They were doing a little bit of filming around the golf club, and one of the weeks Mark said, look, we're one short for a vlog at St Mellon, do you fancy it? I'd always done a lot of social media. I'd enjoyed social media, I've enjoyed posting, and obviously as a hobby. And when Mark asked me to do it, I sort of did that first vlog and I really enjoyed it. I got a bit of I guess you get like a bit of attention. People sort of begin to recognise you. I did a few more videos and I was enjoying it. I wanted to learn more about the industry. I was at that time wasn't using the camera. I wasn't editing, but it was a growing industry, and one that it was like not many people were making videos at the time. I don't know. It was just something that gave me I just could see myself doing it, or I wanted to be more involved in that aspect. And I guess once I started to experience a bit of YouTube, I was like, do I want to be in this shop? Do I want to be stuck here? I'd rather be outside in that environment. And me and Dan have always said it's the next best thing to being a tour pro. You get to play some amazing courses, you have some brilliant experiences, you meet people and spend time with people that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to if I hadn't been involved in this industry. Dan had done sort of 3 or 4 years at Torquay and also done 3 or 4 years with Mark, and he wasn't getting the rewards of being on Mark's channel that you'd probably expect. I think he was hoping, I mean, you'd have to ask Dan, and I'm just speculating from what I remember, and sometimes your memory gets a little bit not confused, but maybe a few facts and that sort of don't always, you put 2 and 2 together and it comes up to 5 sometimes. But I think that he thought that would develop into a full-time role on the channel, that he would work for Mark, maybe editing, making videos, and that didn't really materialise. And I guess it came to a head where he wasn't making any money and these trips were costing him money, and he had to make a decision whether he was going to completely scrap the YouTube idea and concentrate on the golf club or do YouTube full time. And after lengthy discussions, we decided, I was up for it as well, we decided that it wasn't fair to be at Torquay and try and make a YouTube channel. Dan handed in his notice. We started the YouTube channel in the last couple of months at Torquay, and it was sort of post-COVID, it really sort of boomed. Dan got in at the right time, and the subs picked up really quickly. We got good momentum. The course vlogs were good. We had some great characters on there. That was probably my favourite time in YouTube, I guess. We did quite a bit of travelling, like locally and nationally, and there was a real bubble from YouTube. We were doing a video every single day. We're earning really good money from it. And I would say at the time, Dan's videos, still Dan is a brilliant creator, and visually all his content is like top quality. You won't find much better on YouTube, not just in golf but general terms. And I just feel like that time probably our vlogs were the best on YouTube. Like anything, and I'm a positive person, nothing lasts forever, and lots of people were and still are creating content. You had the rise of the American YouTubers like Good who were doing lots of course vlogs. They were cool lads in their 20s, great golfers, good personalities. You had other YouTubers starting up and producing content which was great content, and how competitive YouTube was, just the revenue, the pressure of producing a video every single day. There's like I can't believe how much content like James Robinson produced. Fair play to him. To keep up that workload is impressive, and it just became harder. If you earn less money, everything becomes a bit of an issue. Although me and Dan are similar, and he's my best friend, we are different in numerous ways, and he felt that he had to invest in staff and equipment to try and stay at a certain level, and I do agree with that in certain aspects. However, it became an issue where the channel wasn't making enough money to support someone like me who wasn't editing. I never pretend that I'm an editor or even a YouTuber. I hate the word I'm a YouTuber. I never like that. Like I make videos, but I'm not a YouTuber. Yeah, anyway, back to that. So it just became difficult, and my job was just an on-screen character doing a bit of social for Dan. At that time I was doing all the comments for his YouTube. I was posting on his social media, but I guess I was sort of replaceable. I just didn't feel like I was contributing enough. I didn't feel the money I was getting paid was enough to be a full-time job. So I made the decision to sort of leave Dan's channel full-time in 2023, and to start this particular journey and this channel as a bit of a hobby, as a bit of a life, to keep the lifestyle going and to scratch an itch, I guess, and that is when this channel was born, which was sort of April 2023. I still work a bit at church, and I do all the repairs, all the golf club repairs, and the channel hasn't grown to the levels that I was hoping, not expecting, because that, you know, there's like I said, I'm absolutely, I've always said, and I put on the record in the past, I'm delighted that there's like 7,500 people that are subscribed to the channel. I regularly get sort of 5,000-6,000 views, which is brilliant. So for people to take the time out even to watch any of my content means a lot to me, and as long as I've got decent views, I will continue making videos. That is the stage I'm at in my life now. I guess I'm at a bit of a crossroads. I probably could do with a part-time job at some stage in the next few months, which I probably will look for something around Christmas time, maybe after. Part-time, so I can continue to make videos and to play some golf and sort of get that sort of life-work balance. But who knows where the next chapter or where it goes in my life. I always remember This Is Your Life with Michael Aspel, which would have been early 90s. I think he did a This Is Your Life with Stephen Henry, and Stephen Henry was 21, 22, and when he said This Is Your Life, and he was like, I'm only 21, and I still feel relatively young, and I know I've got a good 20 odd years working. I mean, I'm going to say I'm going to be in the golf industry for life now. Whether that's YouTube, whether that's back in a retail environment or doing something different, but I feel like I'm going to be in golf, but we will see. Thanks again everyone who subscribes to the channel. If you don't subscribe, then please consider subscribing, like this video and comment below, and I will see you very soon. You're probably going to come to the conclusion that I'm an underachiever.